Invocation. Eternal God, our Heavenly Father, we lift our minds and hearts in praise to Thee for the light that never fails, the love that never forsakes us, and the hopes that dispel our fears and anxieties. Wilt Thou open our eyes that we may see Thee, and warm our hearts that we may love Thee, and strengthen our hands that we may serve Thee. Our Father, we thank Thee for all which Thou hast given, and for all which Thou hast forgiven. Wilt Thou illumine our insight, that we may believe the best and bring it to pass. We thank Thee for educational opportunities and the rich heritage of human freedom which we enjoy in our great democracy. Make us faithful trustees of our priceless inheritance, and may we have such a high sense of our duties and responsibilities that we may preserve our rights and safeguard our freedom. And, O God, wilt Thou hasten the day when freedom and peace with justice shall be the heritage of all men. We thank Thee for the high privilege of leading young minds in the ceaseless search for truth and wisdom. Help us understand that every great teacher is a master of the mind and a shepherd of the spirit. Help us to keep the open mind that we may find the truth, and the courageous spirit that we may follow where it leads. Teach us that knowledge comes, but wisdom lingers. And our Father, wilt Thou grant us wisdom and guidance in these eventful days. And as we dedicate our building this night to the service of youth, may we dedicate our lives to the highest ethical ideals of democracy and Christianity. And through Thy love, make us humble enough to be forgiven and gracious enough to forgive. O God, make us free in mind, loving in spirit, loyal in heart, through Jesus Christ our Lord. Amen.
As you know, we are gathered tonight for the purpose of dedicating our practical arts building. The two units, one for home economics, the other for business education. Now, these two units are a part of a three-unit building, the other part of which, the industrial arts part, was dedicated some 2 years ago. We're very proud this evening to have as many distinguished visitors, and I should like at this time to ask some of these distinguished visitors to stand and be recognized. The President Emeritus of our sister institution, Indiana State Teachers College, Dr. Ralph Tyree, is here. Would you please stand, Ralph? He and Mrs. Tyree drove up from Terre Haute today. President Herman Wells is here, of Indiana University. President Wells. His mother came with him this afternoon. We have several people from state offices. For instance, Mr. Don Clark, the Director of the Budget. Where is Mr. Clark, please? Over here on the side. The two members of the State Teachers College Board are here. Mr. Edward Raub is on the platform. And Wilbur Young, the State Superintendent of Public Instruction, is with us. Two members of the State Budget Committee, Mr. Baker. Where is Mr. Baker? And Mr. O'Bannon, over here. And since we're presenting also some of our emeritus group, I think it would be fair to introduce Marker Sunderland, who formerly was on the Budget Committee when we were getting this building ready, Marker Sunderland. And our local members of the state legislature who are always with us for these occasions, Mr. Green, Representative Green, and Representative Rollins. Did I say Collins? I started to say Court Rollins. It's my error. It's Court Rollins. The mayor is here, Mayor Barclay. He was at the dinner. I better say that. Maybe he stopped over. No, here he is, right here. Now we have other guests, but I shall proceed with the additional part of the meeting. This next statement on your program reads the presentation of keys. Now, of course, this is a symbolic presentation of keys, but we actually have keys here. And we have to have two sets of keys because this is two departments. First, the architect, Walter Scholler, will present the keys to the governor, the Honorable George Craig. He will then, in turn, present them to Edward Robb, who is the vice president of the State Teachers College Board, who will present them to me. I will present a set each to Miss Moore, the head of the Home Economics Department, and to Mr. Studebaker, the head of the Department of Business Education. That will complete the presentation of the key, symbolically. We'll proceed without further introductions in this area.
Governor Craig, friends of Ball State. It is my privilege to represent all those who had a part in the construction of the building which we are about to dedicate. That includes all the workmen, the various contractors, the planners, including the staff of Ball State. Cooperation was the theme during the construction, and when you visit the building this evening, which I hope you will, I think you will see the results of that cooperation. It is my privilege to present to you, Governor Craig, the keys to this two-part building, and I'm sure that this building will add another chapter to the educational system of the state of Indiana. Thank you, Mr. Kohler. Mr. Scholler, I appreciate your extension of remarks to it epitomizes the great interest that has been taken not only by the faculty, by all who have made this edifice to education possible. And now, Mr. Robb, on behalf of the people of the state of Indiana, I would like to entrust this property to the Board of Trustees of this institution. Thank you, Governor. Dr. Emmons, as I'm for and on behalf of the Board of Trustees of the Indiana State Teachers College, it's a pleasure for me to present these keys to you for the use that I know you will make of them so well. Thank you, sir.
I wish to make a few remarks about the building. I hope they'll be brief. Never can depend on that. First, we're proud of the building, and we're quite happy about some particular aspects of the building. May I mention just three or four? For instance, all of the initial planning of this building, and much of the planning from the standpoint of selection of materials and colors, and some of the room planning, has already been indicated, a cooperative endeavor. All of the members of the faculty in two different departments working together. One to be housed in a story above the other, or if you wish to put it the other way, one to be housed in a floor below the other. But two groups working together cooperatively in terms of meeting needs in two different areas, and cooperative planning of which we were very proud. Secondly, we are proud and happy about the way our architect has worked with us. Our architect fortunately conceives his major responsibility to work with the people who are planning the building and to place around the facilities that they say are necessary the kind of walls and windows and surround it with heating and ventilating and the kind of things that makes it usable but also beautiful. Thirdly, we're proud of the contractors who built the building conscientiously. And fourth, we're pretty happy and rather proud of the amount of money that we spent in terms of the way we spent it and in terms of the way it came to us. We're very happy, for instance, to have an adequate appropriation from the state legislature to build this classroom building. And then we want to report to you, because we feel the stewardship very heavily about the kinds of things that happened that made it possible to construct the building with a very reasonable amount of money. When you visit the building immediately after this session, we hope you will notice such things as these facts: that in the corridors we have no plaster and paint except in the outside entrances. You will notice all wood and metal lockers. It surprises some people to find that we were able to do that at less cost than some other ways of doing it. You will notice that the partitions between classrooms are concrete blocks, painted ones in various colors. You will be interested, I think, in the industrial lighting and in the large enclosed open spaces. I repeat those things simply so that an audience of this kind will understand when I say that we again feel we have made a record in terms of the cost of the building. This building costs 97 cents a cubic foot. Now, for those of you who are familiar with building costs these past few years, you will realize that buildings that cost $1.18, $1.25, $1.30, and some even $1.55 are not completely out of line. So we are very proud, as we dedicate this building tonight, to let people in the community and the people and the members of the legislature and other individuals who are interested know something about the cost of the building. We hope that you will take a good look at it and see whether or not you think it is a beautiful, usable building. And now, of course, it is a very real pleasure for me to present to these two department heads, of course one at a time, the keys to the respective portions of the building. They and the members of the staff in each department have worked diligently and many, many hours to have these buildings available in the shape which we find them tonight. First, Miss Moore, the head of the Department of Home Economics. May I present keys to you?
Thank you very much.
And now to Dr. Studebaker, head of the Business Education Department.
Thank you very much.
You know, without being told, that the reason for erecting these buildings are so that we may serve students. Marilyn Blair, representing the Home Economics Department, and Dean Cross, representing the Business Education Department, will speak on behalf of students. Marilyn first, followed by Dean. Marilyn?
Thank you, Governor Craig, distinguished guests, faculty, and friends. It is truly an honor for me to be chosen to represent the home economics students at this dedication tonight. I feel greatly honored. Those of you who are newcomers to the campus and those of you who had not seen our previous building may not realize that this building is a dream come true for us students. We have dreamed so much about our new building to come, and now here it is, and we can enjoy it. we seniors regret that we didn't get as much use of the building as we would have liked, but we feel greatly privileged to get the use of the building that we did. Although many of us did get to have quite a bit of say-so in the color combinations and the materials that went into the building. We had counsel with the faculty, and they helped us, and we helped them in cooperating and choosing quite a bit of what went into the building. So now when we actually see the results, we have a deep gratitude for such modern conveniences and classrooms and that we do have, that we can work with in the building. Those of you who have not been to our new department will want to be sure and go over this evening after the program is over to see the new department. You will want to take note of our spacious living room with its deep, dusty rose plush carpet and the beautiful indirect lighting of which we're very proud. The kitchen, with its 7 complete units, is a very important highlight of the department, too. The color combinations, the striking color combinations, along with the modern conveniences such as sliding doors, sliding shelves, and mixmasters. And there are just so many modern conveniences, just as up-to-date as any you would want in your own home. So you be sure and take note for that. Another convenience, too, of which we think is very important, is that we climb no stairs to get to our department. This is a great improvement over the 4 flights of stairs that we did climb last year and the years before. And when you climb up and down the stairs, as we home economics majors did, we feel very privileged in getting to just go in the building, and we're right there. The faculty, I'm sure, must be very pleased to work and to teach in such pleasant surroundings. Each of the faculty has her own office, which you will note when you go over there this evening, and we students can feel free to go into any of the offices and talk over our problems or discuss whatever we want to discuss without having a half dozen other people trying to listen to our problems too, and we appreciate that very much. So on behalf of the students of Ball State, I want to extend my deepest appreciation to those who made it possible for us to have such a beautiful building and that makes learning a real pleasure for us. Thank you.
President Emmons, Governor Craig, distinguished guests, and friends of Ball State, I feel that it is truly fitting and proper that we students should have this opportunity to express to you how very much we do appreciate this superb building and its excellent facilities. The building itself and the surrounding grounds are a beauty spot on our campus for which we are all truly proud. I think that although all of us appreciate this building very much, perhaps those who appreciate it the most are the girls who have both a business education and a home economics major. Marilyn, I'll elaborate a little bit on your statement. You remember, for those girls who first had to climb to the 3rd floor of the science building, and then down and up to the 4th floor of the administration building, and back again to the 3rd floor of the science building. Well, now it's just a flight of stairs up and a banister slide down. I think that most of them, however, appreciate these fine facilities too much to abuse them in such a way, but we are very cognizant and appreciate very much the convenience which this new building offers us. We also recognize the adequacy of this building. Learning is so much easier when the space and the equipment conducive to such learning is ample. For instance, Ball State was the first Middle West college to establish an all-electric typewriting room. We also have a manual typewriting room, a accounting laboratories, distributive education laboratories, 3 rooms of office machines, and many other features for our educational guidance. However, these conclude our strictly educational facilities, but we are just as proud of those facilities provided for our social education. When you tour the building, note the spaciousness and beauty of our demonstration room and its adjacent kitchen. Also, when we students are weary, would like to rest, or some last-minute preparation need to be done, we have just the place to do it. A beautiful study room has been provided for just these purposes. This room is always pleasant, and its furnishings have been carefully chosen so as to make it beautiful, attractive, and peaceful. The beauty of our department does not lie in these rooms alone. However, as Dr. Emmons mentioned, these cement block partitions have been beautifully painted with soft pastel colors. The acoustical ceilings, the tiled floors, and the wood-paneled halls, which also cut the cost, contribute to the magnificence of this building. Not all of our thoughts, though, are lost in the beauty of this building. We are also very thankful for the facilities. They are the latest and best attainable in the business and educational fields. For instance, what do you call blackboards now? You'll notice when you go over there that in the literal sense they're gone because they're green. I guess that we'll call them chalkboards. But that is just one example of the modern facilities which have been provided for us. And only the best equipment. I mentioned the electric typewriters and the office machines. Only this type of equipment would be proper in such a fine building. And we are very thankful for the careful planning which has gone into this building and the equipment and the facilities that you shall see. I have tried to tell you some of the outstanding features which we students are so deeply thankful and appreciative of. We appreciate the opportunity of using these facilities in furthering our intellectual and our social education while here at Ball State. One person who has previously had the opportunity of seeing this building expressed his appreciation in this manner. He said that it is out of this world, and a visiting professor remarked that nothing can touch it. These are typical expressions of people who have had the privilege of seeing this building and have evaluated it in terms of its relationship to the training of business education teachers. When you see it, I believe that you too will agree with these other people. And in speaking for the students of business education and for all other students who may have the opportunity to use and enjoy this building and all that it offers, I wish to especially thank those members of the faculty and administration who planned this fine building, and you people of Indiana who made it possible to execute those plans. The building is beautiful. Its facilities are adequate. The equipment is the best attainable, and the atmosphere is always pleasant. We truly appreciate what you have done for us. Thank you.
Somehow or other, I wish I could take some credit for having tried to help these young people prepare what they had to say, but since I can't, about the only remark I can make is there anyone who is looking for a good young Chamber of Commerce executive somewhere? Next, we wish to have a statement from the member of our alumni organization, and Irwin Smith, the Vice President of the Ball State Teachers College Alumni Association, is to speak for the alumni group. Irwin.
Thank you, President Evans, distinguished guests, both on the stage and in the audience, ladies and gentlemen. As Vice President, of the Ball State Alumni Association and speaking in behalf of the alumni and the former students who have gone to this institution, it is indeed an honor, a privilege, to be present at this dedication. It becomes increasingly evident that after one leaves this institution and is privileged to visit and see other colleges, universities, both within the state and within the nation, one does not appreciate his alma mater in his undergraduate days. I think that this is particularly true of many of the Ball State alumni. For we have seen a small, struggling school take its place with the other institutions in the state. The alumni are becoming increasingly aware of the leadership that it has been Ball State's good fortune to have. President Emmons took this leadership from our late President Pittenger and has developed it into a national and now an international scope. We as the alumni believe that Ball State, with this able guidance, is ready to seek a position of a national leadership among other great colleges and universities of the nation. We are also aware that we would not be in such an advantageous position if it were not for the public-spirited citizens of Indiana, for the legislative and the executive bodies of the state. For these are the people who make facilities such as this Practical Arts Building possible. Governor Craig, as former governors have, has evidenced to the people of this state his sincere interest in and support of higher education. We of the Ball State Alumni Association do appreciate this fine Practical Arts Building that has been being dedicated tonight, and we therefore reaffirm and renew our continued support to Ball State Teachers College and to the educational objectives of the state of Indiana. Thank you, President.
And now it becomes my distinct honor and pleasant privilege to present, if it's possible, to present the governor of the state of Indiana, the Honorable George Craig, to this group. As you know, of course, he graduated in law from Indiana University, and he has served his country at 42 to 46 and was discharged a lieutenant colonel. You know about his national work in the field of the American Legion. You know of the work that he has done in the state of Indiana. As I told the group of students who were here this afternoon when we had the auditorium completely filled with students, it was my first public opportunity to commend him for the major interest that he has taken in some of the problems in the state of Indiana. And I mentioned four, and I should like to mention those four again this evening. Number one, for the interest and the vigor with which he has tackled the problems of highway safety and speeding. Number two, the work that he has done toward improving the conditions in our mental institutions and penal institutions. And number three, his interest in the state office building. And number four, his stalwart support for the program of education, including elementary and secondary, and certainly the work that he has done in standing for the kind of program needed in the institutions of higher education in the state of Indiana, among which Ball State is included. With no further introduction, it's a very real pleasure to present the Honorable George Craig, the Governor of the state of Indiana.
Dr. Emmons, a man wise in government one time told me that the people spend money for most governmental activity, but in the field of education, they invest it. So I take it from that, and I accept his statement to be correct, that which the people place into the realm of education, they actually save, store, and increase the resource. And I want to say that on behalf of everyone, Dr. Emmons, we are proud of the record that you have made here. We are proud of the ever-expanding facility that you have provided for the education of Indiana youth. It would be futile for me to say to you folks, many who are wiser and more experienced than myself, certainly many and most in the field of education, but the future of our country depends upon the knowledge of our people. Our ability to learn and our ability to retain what we learn and to place in practical application the wisdom that is the result of previous experience. You and I are well aware of that godless theory of government that threatens to encroach upon the free institutions of America. While you may pry them out of high places, and you may imprison them and hasten the day, and we may treat them with all sorts of violence, but the defense against communism in the long haul is education. And if the people of this country know and appreciate the great values of knowledge that we have the capabilities to provide, America will always be a free America. We certainly should never be stingy with public money when education is the goal. And I am one who have always said that it is neither prudent nor proper for government to have too much idle money. Certainly all monies that is taken from the taxpayer should be utilized for the purposes that it was given, or in some cases extracted. But in all of our governmental ventures, education holds the foremost and pole position. Without it, we cannot progress in the other fields. We can only succeed in our hospitals and our correctional institutions insofar as the limitations of our knowledge will permit. And certainly we cannot succeed in all of the areas of government that are necessary for human welfare and social betterment, because we can only progress coextensive with the amount of knowledge that we have. We can only gain knowledge from the experience of others, the opportunity that is provided by this and other institutions of our state to give to those who will the benefit of the experience of those who have gone before them. Dr. Emmons, the people of Indiana are proud of Ball State Teachers College. They are proud of the work that you have done, and they are proud of the prospect that it holds for an ever-expanding institution that will constantly progress, that will increase its capacity, and at all times be in a position to give to the people of the state of Indiana the very best that there is in education.
you, Governor. I hesitate to suggest now, with the kind of storm evident that we have outside, that you people walk out into the rain, but the only way I know to get to this other building that we want you to see is to suggest that you do just that thing. The nearest exit and the closest one to the building is this series of exits on this side, and you can just step across the street. Then if you want to, you can come back and walk through this building to your car and at least be under cover a part of the way. You want me to make another speech so you can stay here longer? I don't have no intention of so doing. But I think it would be unmindful of me if I did not respond somehow to what the governor has just said as a charge to those of us who are in higher education, and those of us particularly this evening, of course, who are at Ball State Teachers College. And I think we could fairly say, as one of the units in the field of higher education in this state, of course recognizing both public and private, that here this evening, as we dedicate this building, that the staff members in the administrative group here at Ball State Teachers College rededicate ourselves to the continued service to the students who shall come to Ball State Teachers College now and in the future. And of course, through those students, to the boys and the girls and the young men and the young women and the citizens of this great Hoosier state. That closes our session this evening, except for the open house in the building which we're dedicating, which is just across the street through the rain. Thank you for coming. You want to pull the curtain forward?